What's up, guys? It's Savjz here, and today I'm going to be doing an updated tier list. The Houston Regional Qualifier just finished last weekend, and we got a lot of new and very valuable data from the Western scene, since that was the biggest tournament up to date. There has been a lot of big Chinese tournaments in the past, but it feels like the experimentation and kind of like the representation of a lot of the legends was maybe a little off there. It felt like I personally at least feel that Western players are a little bit more experimental, and also maybe there's more skill for a lot of more skillful players coming from other TCGs to be cooking with a lot of different legends. So now is a good time to do this. This will probably be the last tier list for this set. After this, I will be focusing a lot more on the set 2 cards. I'll be experimenting with the set 2 legends, and I will be then adding those into the mix. But let's get to it. So, for our final tier list, so for set 1, we can start with the G tier, which is the Garen tier. We have Garen, of course. Absolute garbage legend, garbage signature spell, garbage champion cards. Just overall unplayable. The only reason to play Garen would be if you were going for the best of pricing at an event and trying to beat all the other Garens to get that shiny metal card. Or if you want to have fun, I guess, with like kind of like in a non-competitive environment. But right now, what we're doing is we're trying to evaluate the power levels of these legends. So G tier for Garen. Then we have Lux. I played a fair amount of Lux. I find Lux very enjoyable. The playstyle of having a lot of big spells, drawing free cards, is really fun. But when it comes to competitive play, Lux does not seem very viable. It's just the deck seems to be a little bit too slow. There's a lot of weaknesses if you have an aggressive opponent, or even if you get to your late game, it might still be just not enough because maybe your opponent is making plays that you can't just so easily remove. So all the powerful big removal just doesn't really get there. The units also tend to be quite weak in Lux decks. Then we have Jinx. Jinx certainly above Lux, but also in the C tier. There's not really a reason to play Jinx over Annie. Annie has been doing very well as of late. I don't think there's a strong identity or payoff for the Jinx playstyle, really, where you're just discarding cards. Even if you're drawing 2 each turn, it doesn't seem all that powerful. I don't know if new cards will help Jinx. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But right now, Jinx is not a viable champion to play in tournaments. Then we got Lee Sin. Yes, I know. There was one player who did very well at the Houston Regional, Jeff Jones. He managed to get to top 64, but I am not a believer. I think he just got a flash in like a lightning in a bottle there, and it was just an amazing run for an amazing player. But I don't think it was the deck that really did it. I don't think there's much room for error when you're playing the deck. I think everything has to go perfect, and if you're playing against good players with good decks, I just don't see Lee Sin as a viable pick. I'm sorry. I think there's still a lot more to be proven to move Lee Sin any higher than C tier. Then we have for a final, I'm gonna use final C tier legend is going to be Leona. I'm gonna put it at the top of C tier. The highest placing Leona was 234 at the Houston Regional. I did lose to one match to Leona myself because my matchup with my set was not that great against Leona. But overall, it's just Leona is pretty rough right now. There's a little bit too much recycling. If you have a bad early game, making it back into the game is very, very rough. There just doesn't seem to be enough energy for anything. There's very little catch-up mechanisms. It's much better to just straight out kill your opponent's units than it is to stun them. Yeah, I don't find Leona viable at all. So G, absolute garbage. C, I would say unviable in tournament environment. I would not select these 4 champs. Then we are moving on. Well, okay. Well, this is what it's kind of like on the fence. I guess we could also put this to the. I'm gonna add actually Volibear to the C tier as well. I don't think there's a real reason to play Volibear. The only play style with Volibear is really the Dazzling Aurora, this type of like big units thing. And if you want to play that, I think you're just straight up better off playing MF. So I would also put Volibear in C tier. And any of these C tier champions, I don't think you should bring to a tournament outside of trying to achieve a medal card. Volibear, I mean, maybe it'll get better with new cards, but right now, if I was to play Aurora, I would absolutely go for MF instead. Then moving on to B tier. So these are legends that are pretty viable, but there's just some like serious problems also. Let's start with the Yasuo. Yasuo has been making a lot of kind of like moving upwards, and there's been some players kind of like proving that you can do okay with Yasuo. We had Gale Wins making it to top 64 with a pretty cool Yasuo list. I'm also a Yasuo enjoyer myself. I played a good chunk of Yasuo. I think it's viable. I think you can bring this, but I wouldn't consider it a favorite in any environment. I don't think the deck is quite there to be competing with the S and A tier decks still. I think you have to be an excellent player to be even considering it, but you can make it work if you can really nail the deck list and play it well. Then we have Seth, my personal favorite. It breaks my heart, but there's no way to justify having it in A tier anymore. So we're moving down a tier here. The highest placing Seth at the event was 153. Oh my goodness, we had 60 players, or was it 58 to be exact? I think it was 58 sets bring it to the regional, and nobody made the top cut, and not even that close. I was certain that somebody would have made it, so I had even like dropped early, which now breaks my heart to think about. That I should just stick out and just try to play for the medal card. I thought that I had no chance at the medal card considering the amount of set players. But yeah, Set right now, unfortunately, it's not quite there. I think it's a fine deck, but it might just be that the current meta, there's just a little bit too many decks that have good matchups against it to put it any further. So yeah, based on the recent performance, it has to be in B. Then we have Ari. Ari is another one that I'm moving down from the previously A tier. Ari had an equally terrible performance at the qualifier. I believe Ari had even more players. It was 62 or 63 players who brought Ari, and nobody made it to top cut, which is amazing. I do think that the highest placing Ari was a little bit higher. It was at 98, but still not great. It just seems that Kaisa is so much better when it comes to playing those retreats and like you kind of increasing your mana over time and just playing a lot of cards. The red cards are just they might be going a little bit better with the blue, and of course the Kaisa Legend allowing you to save those valuable runes is just so much more powerful than the Ari Legend giving your opponent's units -1 might. I really think that the Legend is if it's not the color combination, it's the Legend that just puts Kaisa so far above Ari that this is where it's at right now in B tier. Then we have Darius also going in the B tier. Let's put it like slightly above this maybe. Darius is pretty viable. We've seen it do well, decently in online events. There was one Darius making it to top 64. I still think it's a fairly powerful deck if you get everything to go right, but I don't think that Darius has the same consistency as the S and A tier decks, so I can't really put it higher than this. It's a good deck, but it's not a great deck. It might get a lot better with the future cards as we have better selection of cards. There might also be a different color combination for the baited hook, which will take over. I do love the baited hook. I think it's really great. Darius, it's another like good deck, but it's just right now it might not be the time. Like it didn't really make that much waves at the event. Kind of the same boat. We have Victor. Victor also goes in the A tier. We have one player making top 64. I think Victor is fine, but it's sort of like same as the Ari. I just feel like Kaisa is kind of just better when we're trying to do that type of blue control gameplay where our mana is increasing and stuff. Victor does have pretty aggressive starts. I do like the pressuring both the battlefields from the beginning. There's a lot of pretty good cards for Victor, but it's not an S or A tier deck right now. I have a really hard time imagining it even in the A tier. I just don't think it's there. The Legend is fine. Like there's a lot of good things, but this is where it has to be. Then we have Teemo. Timo, I'm a little bit struggling. Should I put it high B? Is it the highest B, or should we put it in the lowest A? I think the other A tier decks will just be a little bit better. So I am going to put. Let's put the Timo here. The highest placing Timo was rank 36. We did have multiple Timos in top 64. I don't think that Timo has really proven itself to be a competitor, not an S tier, not an A tier. I think it's close. It's closer to A tier than any of the other decks right now in the B tier, in my view, but it's not quite there. It is close. Maybe with some more cards, like maybe in the next set, it doesn't need all that much to kind of like break out and become some kind of force to be reckoned with. But right now, it's a little bit lacking, I would say. It's just not there. Then, moving on to A tier. The first one in the A tier, this is how it's gonna be. Misfortune. In my previous tier list, the number one feedback you guys were giving me was that I had MF too low, and you guys were right. You were absolutely right. I had been underestimating MF. MF was the highest conversion rate out of all the decks to make it to top 64. I believe it was something like, was it 11% to make it to top cut? It was like same amount of players on MF as roughly same amount as there was on Set and Ari. It was around like 60 players for each, but 7 players made it to the top cut, whereas for Set and for Ari, 0 made it. So that sets them apart. Like, these results speak for themselves. I think it was a good meta call, expecting a lot of, like, you know, Kaisa and Aurora. I guess it just did pretty well against some of these decks. I don't know if Annie is really that good of a matchup. I haven't played that much MF Aurora as of late, but it seems to be the king of Aurora decks, and yeah, I absolutely deserve A tier right now. Like, whoever brought this made a good call. And probably had decent success. We did not have MF's crack top 8, however, so that's worth pointing out. Like, so nobody won with MF, but it was clearly a successful choice for the field overall. Then we have Master Yi. Master Yi, oh my goodness, the superstar of the Chinese meta. Have been absolutely in the S tier for that, but I don't think it's S tier anymore. I think that the other remaining 2 that we have here will be the ones that deserve to be in the S tier just by themselves. It is much more established. Like, it's a solid A, like nowhere near B. Like, this absolutely, it's more like between S and A. But I do think that there's a gap between Yi and this. But it is also above the MF for just a little bit right now. We had a couple of Yis. I think it was 2 Yis in the top 8, and yeah, Yi did pretty solid. Yi has been a good pick. It continues to be a good pick. But it wasn't like anything, this wasn't a crazy performance for Yi or anything like that. But if someone like keeps cooking and wins a big tournament, like, I would be open to considering moving it up to S tier again. Second place, only losing to Annie in the finals, like that was an amazing run. So for a Yi player, so yeah, very good. Then we have everyone's favorite. Okay, not everyone's, but probably the strong, most people would consider the strongest. We have Kaisa. The legend is absolutely amazing. The spells that we're casting are amazing. There's a lot of really strong accelerate units. Kaisa doesn't really have any major weaknesses. And even though Kaisa did not win this event, and there was 0 Kaisa in top 4, which is very surprising, there's no doubt that it is still an S tier deck. Absolutely brilliant deck. Super powerful with almost no weaknesses. Has to be in S tier. The last but not least, is the big surprise. Annie, the superstar, the winning deck of this event, and we had 3 Annies. Was it 3 Annies in the top 4? How did that happen? In a Chinese meta, we haven't seen anything like this. Annie, I remember in my last list, I did say that Annie is if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure I said this, that Annie is the deck in the A tier with the highest chance of breaking into S tier, and that's what happened. Like, nobody can deny the power of Annie. That many players make it. You had a good conversion rate and good representation in the top 8, in the top 4, just making it all the way, winning the event. It has to go in the S tier. The games were also like, those games were not fluke. The Annie definitely proved itself to be deserving. The only question here would be, if we put this in order, would it be Kaisa or Annie like at the top? And that is a tough one. That is a really, really tough one to say right now. I guess that's up. Let me know in the comments, like, who do you think is the king or queen of Riftbound Legends right now? But these are the two that I have in S tier right now, and I'm gonna have the Kai'Sa still be on top because we have a long history of Kai'Sa doing powerful things, and Annie is still such like a fresh entry. But if this dominance by Annie players continues into the next few events before the next set, I could even imagine putting Annie above Kai'Sa, but I'll keep Kai'Sa as the number one. All right, that's it. That's my updated tier list right here. A lot of things moved around. Wow, this was a lot more than I would have imagined when I made my last list. I didn't think things would change that much. Bunch of things going down based on the results. Bunch of things going up. Good stuff, good stuff. I'm really excited for the Spirit Forge. I'm going to keep doing my daily streams, guys. Check out my VODs for gameplay. And also posting more guides and all that kind of content. And we'll start slowly but surely getting into more set 2 stuff. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching, and enjoy Riftbound.